we'll get into the history, and you guys know I love history. So Frederick Mayhew was born July 6, 1785 in Chilmark. He was the son of Abner, who was born in 1750. He was the son of Timothy in 1711. We saw those branches, sections on the tree. Then it goes back to Simon, John, Thomas II, and then Thomas I. Thomas II was born in 1620 in Tisbury, England. And the father, Thomas I and Thomas II, came over together. So that means Frederick was the great-great-great-great-grandson of Thomas Mayhew I. So born in 1785, they're already that far into the generations of the family all living on Martha's Vineyard. Thomas I was baptized in 1593, arrived in Massachusetts 1628. Thomas II arrived in Mass in 1631 and was on Martha's Vineyard by 1642. So that's pretty early arrival. Then we get into a little more specifics of Frederick's descent. Thomas Mayhew's the second grandson. John Mayhew was a deacon in the church in Chilmark, and his son Timothy Mayhew was Frederick Mayhew's grandfather. Timothy was married in 1730 to Abiah Tilton, and this was the first of several generations of Mayhews and Tiltons to be married, including among the children of Timothy and Abiah were twins Joseph and Abner, born in 1750. Abner was married to Martha Tilton, and then they had 6 children, including Frederick Mayhew, who was married in 1802 to Zelinda Tilton. So Frederick was married to a Tilton, his father was married to a Tilton, and his grandfather was married to a Tilton. So Zeke used to like to say, bad horses. That works in most places. People didn't travel that far, but I guess within Martha's Vineyard, you have less opportunity to travel as well. So the families got along and for generations.
And they're still there, the Tiltons as well. The Tiltons have a big business over there of renting all kinds of equipment. You want to rent a tent, you got to go to Tilton. And so it's truly amazing that 300 and 400 years later, the Mayhews and the Tiltons are still sort of very influential on the island. And then every once in a while you see them in town politics. And it's very interesting that they never got off too far.
At least some of them, because there's plenty of them all
now they're all over the place, but...
So the first record we have of Frederick Mayhew as an artist comes from the New Bedford Mercury. The date's May 19, 1809. And he placed an advertisement for profile painting. F. Mayhew respectfully informs the inhabitants of New Bedford and its vicinity that he intends remaining for 2 weeks at the house of Mr. Nathaniel Nelson in this town for the purpose of taking ladies and gentlemen's profile likenesses. He solicits the custom of the public and trusts that the execution of his work will meet general satisfaction. And then he lists his hours. So that's 1809. So that's pretty early on as he's just really starting his occupation, but he was busy enough and successful enough to be able to afford an advertisement.
Before Sally asked the question, of course we want to know what he would have charged. And we never haven't found what he charged, but in comparison in his competition of itinerant artists, what were they getting for a portrait, a 30-25 canvas? It probably was somewhere around $5 to $10. And that would have been a pretty good, a week's pay. And so we don't know how prolific he was, because there's only 15 or 20 that now exist. But how many were destroyed through the years, or how many are out there that we don't even know about? So, but that's about what they would get, about $5 to $10 for a profile likeness.
Probably $5 or $10 for a big painting, for a small watercolor. And we have some of his later watercolor portraits that are not profile likenesses. This is one that we had a little while ago. It's not by Frederick Mayhew. We probably what he meant by a profile likeness, and it literally is a watercolor painted silhouette. This is a Reverend Andrew Lee of Lisbon, Connecticut. But interestingly, when you compare the style to Frederick's style that comes later, when he turns the figure and does a more direct likeness, the quality and the handling of the watercolor is fairly similar. So I bet that it was really not his work was pretty much like this. We just haven't found one sign. And so if you're out there and you see a profile signed by Frederick Mayhew, let us know.
Get it.
Did Mayhew sign his works?
He did later on. So there's nothing signed. I'll get to his earliest known signed work is coming up.